So some think that you can only receive modifications if you're on an alternate curriculum. Is that true or false?
False. Have modifications in a general education class when you're, like I said earlier, they can be minor modifications, like having access to a calculator during math. So no, that's false. Really, in any IEP, the team is supposed to go through the hierarchy of placement, and the least restrictive would be placement in a general education classroom with, modifications or accommodations, consult collabs. So no, that's false.
Okay, next, if your classwork or homework is modified, you're automatically on certificate track. True or false?
No, false, because again, modifications don't necessarily stay in place indefinitely. It could be some sort of minor modification, but as long as the student is able to pass the course with a passing grade and they're, meeting whatever the requirements are for passing that course and working towards whatever the diploma standards are, then they would be able to access a diploma. They still have to show that they are able to master the grade level standards and that they're able to complete whatever the requirements are for the diploma, but you can still have modifications and be able to do that.
So if you're in a mild to moderate special ed class, that means your work is modified and you will be certificate bound. True or false?
False. And so mild to moderate, and again, terms are not necessarily always the same across districts and states, but here, when we refer to mild to moderate classes, that's a general education curriculum, just at a slower pace, as a smaller class size. Obviously, student has access to any necessary accommodations, and they may have some, again, minor modifications, but the curriculum itself, meaning the curriculum they're accessing, is still the general education curriculum. So students who are in high school who may be in a mild to moderate SAI class would still be on a diploma track.
So what about the mod to severe or the life skills class?
Students that would be in what we would refer to again here, as a moderate to severe classroom that would be on an alternate curriculum. I'm assuming you're referring to in high school, would not be diploma bound. That is not access to general education curriculum. Therefore, they wouldn't be working towards the requirements for a diploma, just merely due to the fact that they aren't accessing that or being asked to produce that level of work in those classes.
If you receive modified grades, you can't earn a diploma. True or false?
True. But basically, if a student is on an alternate curriculum, let's say, and they're in those, what we just said, like a functional skills class or whatever the district refers to it as, the law kind of leaves it up to the district's discretion as far as how the student is to be graded. And so I've seen things like graded on effort, like what does that even mean? But they're there, so they pass. Graded on, fewer standards, or there's different options, but it's just really frustrating, I feel. And I feel like our law needs to kind of be beefed up in terms of what are we holding these educators accountable for in terms of what they're educating our children in and on, and also what are the expectations of our children. And they still should be graded, and they still should be held accountable, and they should still be going to school and learning. Unfortunately, if your child is receiving a modified or alternate report card, I'm assuming that's what you mean, they would not be on the diploma track, because again, you have to be able to meet the grade level standards and pass all of the necessary requirements to access a diploma.
So you can't take an A to G class if you require modifications. True or false?
So quick correction. So A through G requirements are required for students who want to go to a 4-year university.
That was going to be my follow-up too. Yeah.
So you can still get a diploma, but you don't necessarily have the A through G level. A through G courses, again, same answer as before, as long as the student is performing at the level that would be required of the gen ed student, and they're showing the same level of understanding for the standards and they're passing the class, it may be minor, modifications. Yes, they can achieve a diploma, but when it changes the standards or the expectation, that's when we talk about shifting to not a diploma if they aren't able to pass that class.